Hi everyone, welcome back to Bible in a Year. My name is Natalie and today we're on day 197. I am so happy that you're here today and I hope that your day is going great. We are going to be starting the book of Judges. So we'll be reading Judges chapters 1 and 2, and then Jeremiah chapter 15, Galatians chapter 4, and then we'll close out the day with Psalm 106, verses 13 through 15. So, like the rest of you in the summer here, we are in a huge heat wave. It is incredibly hot in my apartment. We don't have any AC. So I do have the slider open to try and get some air moving in here. I'm very sorry, but the motorcycles are out today. So hopefully we'll get through this reading without too much traffic noise. Sometimes it can feel like I'm, just standing right outside on the sidewalk. But we'll see how this goes. If it doesn't, I can always re-record. All right, Judges chapters 1 and 2. Here we go. After the death of Joshua, the children of Israel asked of Yahweh, saying, "Who should go up for us first against the Canaanites, to fight against them?" And Yahweh said, "Judah shall go up. Behold, I have delivered that land into his hand." Judah said to Simeon his brother, "Come up with me into my lot, that we may fight against the Canaanites, and I likewise will go with you into your lot." So Simeon went with him. Judah went up, and Yahweh delivered the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hand. They struck 10,000 men in Bezek. They found Adoni-Bezek in Bezek, and they fought against him. They struck the Canaanites and the Perizzites. But Adoni-Bezek fled, and they pursued him, caught him, and cut off his thumbs and his big toes. Adoni-Bezek said, 70 kings, having their thumbs and their big toes cut off, scavenged under my table. As I have done, so God has done to me. They brought him to Jerusalem, and he died there. The children of Judah fought against Jerusalem, took it, struck it with the edge of the sword, and set the city on fire. After that, the children of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites who lived in the hill country and in the south and in the lowland. Judah went against the Canaanites who lived in Hebron. The name of Hebron before that was Kiriath Arba. They struck Shushai, Aimon, and Talmai. From there he went against the inhabitants of Debir. The name of Debir before that was Kiriath Sepher. Caleb said, "I will give Achsah my daughter as wife to the man who strikes Kiriath Sepher and takes it." Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it, so he gave him Achsah his daughter as his wife. When she came, she got him to ask her father for a field. She got off her donkey, and Caleb said to her, "What would you like?" She said to him, "Give me a blessing, because you have set me in the land of the south. Give me also springs of water." Then Caleb gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. The children of the Kenite, Moses' brother-in-law, went up out of the city of palm trees with their children of Judah onto the wilderness of Judah, which is in the south of Arad, and they went and lived within the people. Judah went with Simeon his brother, and they struck the Canaanites who inhabited Zephath and utterly destroyed it. The name of the city was called Hormah. Also Judah took Gaza with its border, and Ashkelon with its border, and Ekron with its border. Yahweh was with Judah and drove out the inhabitants of the hill country, for he could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron. They gave Hebron to Caleb, as Moses has said, and he drove the 3 sons of Anak out of there. The children of Benjamin didn't drive out the Jebusites who inhabited Jerusalem, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem to this day. The house of Joseph also went up against Bethel, and Yahweh was with them. The house of Joseph sent to spy out Bethel. The name of the city before that was Luz. The watchers saw a man come out of the city, and they said to him, "Please show us the entrance into the city, and we will deal kindly with you." He showed them the entrance into the city, and they struck the city with the edge of the sword, but they let the man and all his family go. The man went into the land of the Hittites, built a city, and called its name Luz, which is its name to this day. Manasseh didn't drive out the inhabitants of Bethshean and its towns, nor Tanakh and its towns, nor the inhabitants of Dor and its towns, nor the inhabitants of Ibleam and its towns, nor the inhabitants of Megiddo and its towns. But the Canaanites would dwell in that land. When Israel had grown strong, they put the Canaanites to forced labor. They didn't utterly drive them out. Ephraim didn't drive out the Canaanites who lived in Gezer, but the Canaanites lived in Gezer among them. Zebulun didn't drive out the inhabitants of Kitron, nor the inhabitants of Nahalal, but the Canaanites lived among them and became subject to forced labor. Asher didn't drive out the inhabitants of Echo, nor the inhabitants of Sidon, nor of Alab, nor of Akzib, nor of Helbah, nor of Aphik, nor of Rehob. But the Asherites lived among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land, for they didn't drive them out. Naphtali didn't drive out the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh, nor the inhabitants of Beth Anath, but he lived among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land. Nevertheless, the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh and of Beth Anath became subject to forced labor. The Amorites forced the children of Dan into the hill country, for they would not allow them to come down to the valley. But the Amorites would dwell in Mount Heres, in Aijalon, and in Shalbim. Yet the hand of the house of Joseph prevailed, so that they became subject to forced labor. The border of the Amorites was from the ascent of Akrabim, from the rock and upward. Chapter 2. Yahweh's angel came up from Gilgal to Bochum, and he said, "I brought you out of Egypt, and have brought you to the land which I swore to give to your fathers. I said, I will never break my covenant with you. You shall make no covenant with the inhabitants of this land. You shall break down their altars. But you have not listened to my voice. Why have you done this? Therefore I said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be in your sides, and their gods will be a snare to you." When Yahweh's angel spoke these words to all the children of Israel, the people lifted up their voice and wept. They called the name of that place Bochum, and they sacrificed there to Yahweh. Now when Joshua had sent the people away, the children of Israel each went to his inheritance to possess the land. The people served Yahweh all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great work of Yahweh that he had worked for Israel. Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of Yahweh, died, being 110 years old. They buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath-Heres, in the hill country of Ephraim, on the north of the mountain of Gash. After all that generation were gathered to their fathers, another generation arose after them who didn't know Yahweh, nor the work which he had done for Israel. The children of Israel did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight, and served the Baals. They abandoned Yahweh, the God of their fathers, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods. Of the gods of the peoples who were around them, they bowed themselves down to them, and they provoked Yahweh to anger. They abandoned Yahweh, and served Baal and the Ashtaroth. Yahweh's anger burned against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of the raiders who plundered them. He sold them into the hands of their enemies all around, so that they could no longer stand before their enemies. Wherever they went out, Yahweh's hand was against them for evil, as Yahweh had spoken, and as Yahweh had sworn to them, and they were very distressed. Yahweh raised up judges who saved them out of the hand of those who plundered them. Yet they didn't listen to their judges, for they prostituted themselves to other gods and bowed themselves down to them. They quickly turned away from the way in which their fathers walked, obeying Yahweh's commandments. They didn't do so. When Yahweh raised up judges for them, then Yahweh was with the judge and saved them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For it grieved Yahweh because of their groaning by reason of those who oppressed them and troubled them. But when the judge was dead, they turned back and dealt more corruptly than their fathers in following other gods to serve them and to bow down to them. They didn't cease what they were doing or give up their stubborn ways. Yahweh's anger burned against Israel, and he said, "Because this nation transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and has not listened to my voice, I also will no longer drive out any of the nations that Joshua left when he died from before them, that by them I may test Israel, to see if they will keep Yahweh's way to walk therein, as their father kept it, or not." So Yahweh left those nations without driving them out hastily. He didn't deliver them into Joshua's hand. Wow. All right. I am so sorry, folks. It is really hot. Now, this is awful. So I do live by the beach. So I am not suffering like the rest of you in the United States. I am very aware that the rest of the country is on fire. I live near the ocean, but for me, I am acclimated to the ocean. I am not acclimated to sun and fire. This is awful. But we shall continue, right? Let's have some water. Jeremiah chapter 15. All right. Then Yahweh said to me, "Though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind would not turn towards his people. Cast them out of my sight and let them go out. It will happen when they ask you, 'Where shall we go out?' Then you shall tell them, Yahweh says, such as are for death, to death, such as are for the sword, to the sword, such as are for the famine, to the famine, and such as are for captivity, to captivity. I will appoint over them 4 kinds, says Yahweh, the sword to kill, the dogs to tear, the birds of the sky, and the animals of the earth to devour and destroy. I will cause them to be tossed back and forth among all the kingdoms of the earth because of Manasseh, the son of Hezekiah, king of Judah, for that which he did in Jerusalem. For who will have pity on you, Jerusalem? Who will mourn you? Who will come to ask of your welfare? You have rejected me, says Yahweh. You have gone backward. Therefore, I have stretched out my hand against you and destroyed you. I am weary of showing compassion. I have winnowed them with a fan in the gates of the land. I have bereaved them of children. I have destroyed my people. They didn't return from their ways. Their widows are increased more than the sand of the seas. I have brought on them against the mother of the young men a destroyer at noonday. I have caused anguish and terrors to fall on her suddenly. She who has borne 7 languishes, she has given up the spirit. Her sun has gone down while it is yet day. She has been disappointed and confounded. I will deliver their residue to the sword before their enemies, says Yahweh. Woe is me, my mother, that you have borne me, a man in strife, and a man of contention to the whole earth. I have not lent, neither have men lent to me, yet every one of them curses me. And Yahweh said, Most certainly I will strengthen you for good. Most certainly I will cause the enemy to make supplication to you in the time of evil and in the time of affliction. Can one break iron, even iron from the north and bronze? I will give your substance and your treasures for a plunder without price, and that for all your sins, even in all your borders. I will make them to pass with your enemies into a land which you don't know, for a fire is kindled in my anger, which will burn on you. Yahweh, you know. Remember me, visit me, and avenge me of my persecutors. You are patient, so don't take me away. Know that for your sake I have suffered reproach. Your words were found, and I ate them. Your words were to me a joy and the rejoicing of my heart, for I am called by your name, Yahweh God. I didn't sit in the assembly of those who make merry and rejoice. I sat alone because of your hand, for you have filled me with indignation. Why is my pain perpetual and my wound incurable, which refuses to be healed? Will you indeed be to me as a deceitful brook, like waters that fail? Therefore Yahweh says, If you return, then I will bring you again, that you may stand before me, and if you take out the precious from the vial, you will be as my mouth. They will return to you, but you will not return to them. I will make you to this people a fortified bronze wall. They will fight against you, but they will not prevail against you. For I am with you to save you, and to deliver you, says Yahweh. I will deliver you out of the hand of the wicked, and I will redeem you out of the hand of the terrible. Wow. And I think most importantly is verse 19. Therefore, Yahweh says, if you return, if you return, if I return, if I return. All right, Galatians chapter 4. All right, here we go. Oh, they're not breaking it up this time. Let's see what Paul says. All right. But I say that so long as the heir is a child, he is no different from a bondservant, though he is Lord of all, but is under guardians and stewardship until the day appointed by the Father. So we also, when we were children, were held in bondage under the elemental principles of the world. But when the fullness of the time came, God sent out his Son, born to a woman, born under the law, that he might redeem those who were under the law, that we might receive the adoption as children. And because you are children, God sent out the Spirit of his Son into your hearts, crying, Abba, Abba, Father. So you are no longer a bondservant, but a son, and if a son, then an heir of God through Christ. However, at that time, not knowing God, you were in bondage to those who by nature are not God's. But now that you have come to know God, or rather to be known by God, why do you turn back against to the weak and miserable elemental principles to which you desire to be in bondage all over again? You observe days, months, seasons, and years. I am afraid for you, that I might have wasted my labor for you. I beg you, brothers, become as I am, for I also have become as you are. You did me no wrong, but you know that because of my weakness in the flesh, I preached the good news to you the first time. That which was a temptation to you in my flesh, you didn't despise nor reject, but you received me as an angel of God, even as Christ Jesus. What was the blessing you enjoyed? For I testified to you that, if possible, you would have plucked out your eyes and given them to me. So then I have become your enemy by telling you the truth? They zealously seek you in no good way. No, they desire to alienate you, that you may seek them. But it is always good to be zealous in a good cause, and not only when I am present with you. My little children, of whom I am again in travail until Christ is formed in you. But I could wish to be present with you now, and to change my tone, for I am perplexed about you. Tell me, you that desire to be under the law, don't you listen to the law? For it is written that Abraham had 2 sons, one by the servant and one by a free woman. However, the son by the servant was born according to the flesh, but the son by the free woman was born through promise. These things contain an allegory, for these are 2 covenants. One is from Mount Sinai, bearing children to bondage, which is Hagar. For this, Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answers to the Jerusalem that exists now, for she is in bondage with her children. But the Jerusalem that is above is free, which is the mother of us all. For it is written, Rejoice, you barren who don't bear. Break out and shout, you who don't travail. For the desolate women have more children than her who has a husband. Now we brothers, as Isaac was, are children of promise. But as he was born according to the flesh, persecuted him who was born according to the Spirit, so also it is now. However, what does the Scripture say? Throw out the servant and her son, for the son of the servant will not inherit with the son of the free woman. So then, brothers, we are not children of a servant, but of the free woman. Awesome. Oh, I do love that. Whoa. All right, let's close out this day so we can all go jump into a swimming pool, have some iced tea, maybe some ice cream. Psalm chapter 106, verses 13 through 15. All right, here we go. They soon forgot his works. They didn't wait for his counsel, but gave in to craving in the desert and tested God in the wasteland. He gave them their request, but sent leanness into their soul. Well, you guys, that concludes day 197. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Please come back for tomorrow. I'm going to try and record a little bit earlier to see if maybe we can cool this apartment down. Maybe that will help. But I am so thankful that you're here. I just love reading this format to you, and I hope that you are hearing the words. Galatians, I had really forgotten about how Galatians really is the full testimony of Christ. And it is just a few short chapters. So I'm so thankful that you're here. And I hope you're hearing these words, and I hope it brings clarification. I hope it draws you closer to God. I hope it helps to build a whole new relationship with Him. I know it is for me. So come on back for tomorrow, day 198. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.